it begins with accepting. Accept who you are. My dream had come true. Others' dreams can come true. Nothing is impossible. It's like taking back your power to say that I get to decide what femininity is.
The Rugby Rising Locker Room.
Hello, and thank you for joining us in the Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. I'm Maud and this is Sadia Kabea.
Our guest today is Harlequin plus South African prop Babalwa Latsha, or BB.
BB is an absolute powerhouse and was the first African woman to play professional rugby.
Off the field, BB is equally impressive, using her platform to empower women through sport.
BB, welcome to the show. Now let's start at the beginning. What was life like growing up in South Africa?
Look, I come from Khayelitsha, Cape Town, which is a township in Cape Town. As you would imagine, or maybe not imagine, growing up there was pretty rough, especially for a young girl who's trying to understand the world, who's trying to, I guess, find her way. It was particularly tough because I think Khayelitsha is a township that's quite notorious, high crime stats and things of that nature. But yeah, we survived and here we are today.
Yeah. Obviously this episode we're going to be talking a bit about body image. What was your relationship like growing up with your body?
I think it took me probably all my life to establish that relationship, because how I viewed myself and how the world viewed me were two different things. To the world, I was labeled a tomboy. I was too strong, too muscular. My hair wasn't straight enough. But I think it took me embracing me to understand that, hey, actually, my body's amazing just the way that it is. It does amazing things for me. And I think the best tool within that process for me was playing rugby. Because when I was playing rugby, I wasn't too strong or too big. My body was accepted. My image was accepted. How I looked was perfectly fine. And I think that is what helped me to, accept myself more than anything else.
It is nice in rugby teams. I feel like it's really empowering and you want to be stronger, you want to show off your muscles. I feel like we all really appreciate, when I see your muscles, I'm like, oh, look at your muscles, they're getting good, Sads. I feel like that's what the rugby environment allows, and we celebrate it, don't we, in rugby?
Absolutely.
We really do try and celebrate it. Speaking about that, a lot of young girls do struggle with growing muscles and trying to get stronger. What's your opinion on that, and what would you say to a young girl that's struggling?
Well, I think the first thing is to embrace the uniqueness of your body. I mean, our bodies are amazing in that they come in all different types of shapes and sizes. So I think the first thing would to accept that, hey, maybe I'm taller than everybody else, or maybe I'm a little bit more muscular than everybody else, or I'm not as much muscular than anybody else. And I would really encourage them to just take that first step to say, hey, it's more about what my body can do for me than what it looks like.
No, I really agree with that, especially being someone who was in a position where I was like, I don't want to gain any more muscle. Naturally, genetically, I'm more muscly. And growing up, I always did loads of sports, but didn't want to look like I did loads of sports. And it wasn't until I started taking rugby seriously that I thought, you know what, my body has this power already. I need to hone it and enhance it, and I'm actually going to lean into it.
The professional side of sports and what is required from a physical, point of view, it is when I started to feel encouraged, when I got stronger. Maybe this 1 week I could bench press more than I did 2 weeks ago. I could squat more. For me, that's really empowering, and I feel the stronger I feel, the better I feel, I guess.
Yeah, and it is a unique sport. Have it be, second rows, they're tall, and it's a sport for all shapes and sizes. The scrum halves, they tend to be shorter. I feel like it's such a unique sport where everyone kind of is accepted, no matter what your shape or size. It's a really special sport, isn't it?
And that's the beauty of it, I suppose.
So in terms of your body image journey, from a young age, was there a person or a moment in particular that kind of was a changing point in you feeling more confident and more comfortable in that?
I think I was really fortunate in that I had a really good support system at home. I only have one other sibling, my sister, who is 18 years old now. Because we're such a small, tight-knit family, my dad always encouraged being healthy, training and all those kinds of things. And so did my mom, because she was a sports person back in in her days. So at home, it was acceptable, it was encouraged, and the rugby part, it took them a little bit of time to accept it because every other week I'd come back home with a bruise, and they were just like, oh, this looks so dangerous. But I think what sort of changed their mind was the fact that they could see that I enjoyed it. They could see how it changed me. I went from being this big, strong, shy, equally timid girl to this, bolstering, empowered, young lady.
We were just wondering what the cultural differences in South Africa are on the beauty standard of women.
Well, in my opinion, it's more or less the same. The views around women in South Africa and possibly the world is still through the prism of a male. It's about the male gaze. It's about what men decide, what femininity is and what it should be. But I think there's a brand new revolution in South Africa and in Africa as a whole, where young women are starting to own their own narrative. They're starting to embrace themselves and their bodies, and it's become a really cool cultural shift. It's like taking back your power to say that I can be whatever I want. I can look, whatever I want. I get to decide, what femininity is. What makes me feel good as a woman.
I feel like I've been hearing a lot about the female gaze and kind of seeing yourself with the female gaze, how you would see someone else who looks like you. How would I see someone else who has my muscles or who runs like me? I would think, wow, yeah, they're pretty cool if you look at it through the female gaze. And I think it's been really clear in terms of social media. We've seen people like Alona Ma, Iman Khalif, who are really strong, powerful, confident women who are now being put on a pedestal for everyone else to see. And like, how do you feel, being someone who is a rugby player, who's professional, seeing that kind of reflected in the media as well?
I think that's great. It's probably the best thing to ever happen, in my opinion, because I think that young people consume social media a lot. They consume what's being put out there at alarming rates. So why not put the right things on there,
We actually have a little interactive moment now where we offer some priceless advice in partnership with Mastercard.
So the question is, I'm getting bigger and I'm telling myself it's good for rugby, but feel so self-conscious whenever I'm not on the pitch. How do you suggest I deal with people's opinions on my body when I want to be feminine and strong?
Well, the first thing would be that, first of all, people's opinion don't make who you are. And the second thing is that, she gets to decide what feminine is. She gets to decide what makes her feel good on and off the pitch. And I think once she's figured that out and have decided that, she should be in a better position to say that, I'm beautiful just the way that I am. And again, she gets to decide what beautiful means, so it's about taking back her power. It's about owning her narrative and owning her own sense of self, that, all the external things, if gosh, I get so many DMs and so many comments on social media about a photo that I post showing off my muscles. There will be someone saying that, you look so big and muscular, that's not nice, blah, blah. But it doesn't get to me because I decided to own my own narrative and own, my own power to say that people's opinion don't make who I am.
No, amazing. I mean, thank you so much, PB, for coming on today and speaking to us. It's been really insightful. You speak so well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of young girls watching will take a lot away from the episode. And thank you to everyone at home for watching. If you enjoyed this one, please check out more episodes of Rugby Rising Locker Room in partnership with Mastercard. Bye.